Y'all ready to blaze away or what?
A person brings up this tweet that went viral back when Tekken 8 roster leaked, and we first found out that Reina was going to be this kind of daughter type character to Heihachi. And what this tweet says is that Heihachi has about 18 to 25 children. Harada says he confirmed 9 so far. Me personally, I know we all love the Mishimas, but the Mishimas are super iconic, and if you add 9, 18, 25 of them, you will just water down the playstyle, the meaning of it so much. So I think they really should stop and slow down. But I mean, if you think about how Reina is like super popular, maybe this will be their moment and say, okay, let's give more Mishimas. But the person who shared this tweet says, I wish the Tekken community on Twitter talked about more of the lore of the series, like Heihachi having 25 children across the world. On the topic of talking about the lore, I think Tekken 8 did a good job of ruining that conversation. Not only did it retcon the previous games, but it also gave us nothing to speculate on. So it's hard to even try to predict what's going to happen next because the story is so unpredictable in a terrible way. But Harada says in response to this, got it. At least before I retire or disappear, I'll share some lore and background stories here, so please wait a little longer. I know there was one point in time where Harada said that he wanted to release like a book, like a lore book on all the secrets and all the random ideas. If he ever gets around to doing that, I would definitely make videos and break it all down because I do think it will be pretty interesting. But also, once again, just pay attention to how he's talking about retire. He did say he wanted to retire after Tekken 9. He wants Tekken 9 to release at the same time as the PlayStation 6. So that kind of gives us a timeline on these things. Now, if we look at the next tweet, this is where it gets pretty dicey. Someone says, hey Harada, I wanted to talk to you about Alex and Roger not happening because animal rights stuff, but you never thought about making robots instead. So this goes back to an old news article, very old news article, probably like 10 years ago now, where basically Harada was misquoted saying that Roger can't be in Tekken because PETA stepped in and they didn't want the animal abuse thing. This was kicked up at the start of Tekken 7 when you had that viral video of the guy punching a kangaroo, but Harada has went on record to debunk this many times. And if you think about how that is, right, Harada debunked this many times, but players still believe it and they still repeat it no matter how hard you fight back. I think that's so interesting how a lie will go so much farther than the truth. So all of this stuff here I will skip because I just explained that, and we'll take a look at what Harada says here. It's possible that the tone of my comments got twisted a bit during the translation in English. Maybe it came across sarcastically, like if someone complains, I guess I can't include them anymore. But even so, I never made a definitive or constructive statement about it. So you can see that the whole Roger thing was just like kind of got out of hand, and Harada's once again trying to step in and clarify the record. Now on the character Eliza, some people want this character to return. Her usage in Tekken 7 was very low, but that doesn't mean that she's not a beloved character to some. This person requested that Harada bring her back, and he said, if animations and fighting style can be adjusted a bit more to suit 3D fighting games, I think a comeback could be a good idea. So he could be saying this for two reasons. One, he could be saying this because Eliza is kind of difficult in comparison to some other characters out there. So if you're talking about people trying to find a new character to play, why would they choose her over some of the other waifus? But then he also could be talking about just the 2D nature of the character. 2D characters ran a muck in Tekken 7, but I kind of think that maybe they would be a little bit more balanced. With Tekken 8 moves having more range, bigger hitboxes, I don't think the 2D characters will be able to elude as much as they did in Tekken 7. I mean, because Yoshimitsu, Lily, like the characters who do have enhanced movement, they still get clapped up from time to time. But that's just my own speculation. Who knows what they would do to Eliza, how much they would change her, adjust her. In my opinion, this is something that I am fearing for characters like Armor King, Fakram, etc. The developers see the overhauling as a good thing, but when you do it to an iconic character and then the remains of that character is barely visible, it's not really a good thing. I mean, you talk about season 2, how they removed a lot of identity from the game, but they were doing that long ago with the DLC characters going all the way back to Kunimitsu, Zafina, etc. Right? Now, someone says Armor King lore. Harada says the teaser video for Armor King and Combo Breaker was originally scripted with a surprise twist. It would start with a call Armor Queen and briefly show a female pro wrestler like character named Armor Queen. Then Armor King would burst through that screen and make his entrance. But due to the time constraints, we ended up going with more straightforward teaser. I made a video quite recently where I talked about how the Tekken 7 trailers is just better than Tekken 8. This is what I'm talking about. In Tekken 7, they did this stuff. They had entire cinematics for Kunimitsu, for Lydia, for Fakamram. But in Tekken 8, I guess it's just the time constraints. The time constraints is the reason why the Tekken 8 trailers are not as good as the Tekken 7 trailers. So everyone who was mad at me in that video, I was right. Someone says, what about Backpack with Shibuya? We still waiting for this banger. Harada says, as expected, using live Shibuya would invite some sort of interference, but I'll find a way to make it work. You talk about PETA stepping in against kangaroos. PETA will definitely step in that aspect. So it seems like they're trying to figure out a way to make it work. Someone asked about Lily's cat and whether or not it would be customizable. Harada says, I would love to do it, but I can't imagine it might lead to a lot of requests to give every other character a pet as well. This is a pretty interesting point that I do think you got to highlight. When you're doing customization, you got to make sure to make it fair. And I think it's easy to look at the Bears and Leo and see the lack of customization there. I mean, even Yoshimitsu doesn't have a face. He doesn't have skin. He can't do body tans or put hair on and all this stuff. But that's kind of the character, right? I'm not complaining about that. I just think it's interesting when you look at what some of the other characters can do versus what they can't do and how the developers take that into consideration. Now, another big tweet here, and this is a big tweet. I don't know if you guys seen this, but Street Fighter announced another collaboration. I have a video that you guys will see eventually. You guys probably will hate that video when it drops, but it's going to be a video talking about Street Fighter 6 and comparing it to Tekken 8 and just showing how both of these games are marketing their games, the type of content they're putting in their games, and how Street Fighter is just knocking Tekken out. And with this new collaboration that Street Fighter just announced, I mean, that conversation is more live than ever. You even have FDX saying, Tekken, please God, fight back. I know I'm the Moonsaw Doomer, right? But when you have FDX and just everyone sees it, everyone's saying it. This person here tags Harada and says, this is one time I'll ask you for something. Please tell me why Namco can't do stuff like this. But to look at Harada's statement, he says the Tekken market is primarily centered in Europe and North America, but of course, it's been long popular in South Korea as well. Because of that, we received quite a few offers from South Korean artists and groups over the years. If it's something you're interested in, there's always possibilities. However, I feel it's a bit difficult to judge the compatibility with Tekken community. What do you think? This is something that I think as well, right? The Tekken community are very mixed. Like some people will love something and then some people will hate something, but you just have to be in tune with your community and what they want. I mean, you talk about season 2 and how it went off the rails. The developers are most certainly not in tune with the players. Someone says there's a lot of people who want to make their character look like their favorite K-pop idol, for example. Do you guys have K-pop idols? Harada says, thank you for your opinion. But as I always say, whether there are many or whether there is market potential is something that we, the company, assess statistically. On social media platforms, I'm asking for your personal opinion. That's why I always tell you to speak as if you represent the fans by using we, but to speak instead of using I. So this kind of goes back to something that Harada kind of harped on for a long time, kind of relating to characters like Jun Kazama and just stuff like that. Basically things that aren't popular that people want to return, like Eliza or something like that. Harada will say, don't say we want this, say I want this, because he says like when people say we, they don't have the statistical data to back it up, and they just say we because they feel like everyone agrees, but oftentimes not everyone agrees. Like if you say, like if I was to say we all think Heihachi is broken, Harada would be like, no, you know, there's a lot of people who disagree with you. Just say you think, just say I think Heihachi is broken. Now, is that kind of missing the point? Yes, but I do get where Harada is coming from. But also, I think this is just the way that people speak. I think, like, you know, people say we a lot, but they really mean I and stuff like that. But maybe it's that cultural difference, Japanese and whatnot, right? But he gives an example here where someone says, please, Harada, we don't want no lame Karate Kid hoodie. But lastly, there's a tweet where someone says, how many people need to relay something before I can turn into we? It feels like the standard, as long as there's one person opposing an argument, then we can never say we. Harada says your focus is completely missing the point I'm making. That's not the essence of what I'm trying to explain. Please read the content carefully. Determining whether something is majority or minority opinion is the job of the developers or the company, not the users. Users are entitled to express their personal opinions, and especially on platforms like social media where direct feedback is possible, but I believe it's far more meaningful and valuable to speak in your own voice, expressing your own thoughts. That belief comes from the premise that even a minority opinion can contain important insights. If you want to know which opinion is statistically dominant, then you can just check the user's review sites and conduct surveys. There's no need to conduct individual feedback through social media. That's exactly why I'm saying there's no need for you to personally emphasize whether your opinion belongs majority or minority. And by the way, there's something I've explained many times over the years, and this is why I think what Harada does is good, because there's a lot of good information in here, and if you digest it, if you understand it, you can definitely know a lot more about Tekken, because he is dropping some serious knowledge here.